Hello and welcome to the podcast Being Human Hidden Depths by Collaboration Global. My name is Jill Tiny and our community has a Clubhouse session once a week and the conversations are awesome and we didn't want anyone to miss out, so we've popped them into this podcast so you too can enjoy them. Obviously all around a theme on collaboration, but different topics ranging from how to collaborate in your business to do you have a sixth sense and how to use it. Please enjoy this next hour where our community and our guests come together to have a great conversation. Today, on behalf of Collaboration Global, and we are asking the question, is your business socially responsible? Please don't forget, if you know somebody is interested in this kind of conversation or has a wealth of information, we would love you to invite them to the room. And obviously, if you have any questions at all, I've got my moderators coming along and they will invite you up onto the stage to ask those questions. Welcome to Simon and Ben, Francis and Louise on stage at the moment. I'm going to come to Louise first to find out, as you run a charity, Louise, are you aware of whether you are being socially responsible? Or is this something that is not being considered yet? Or, what do you do to save the planet, basically?
So we, firstly, what we try and do is keep everything digitally. So we try and cut out all the paper that we would have used previously. So instead of printing reams and reams of things off, we obviously save it. We developed a combined drive so that everybody can access the information from a central point initially. So we tried to cut out all of the unnecessary printing. We also looked at things, instead of printing off leaflets, which historically the charity did heaps and heaps of, we developed QR codes. So if we take stuff out, we can get people to use their phones and obviously just ping the QR and it will bring up our information or safety information that we were trying to promote maybe that week. I'm acutely aware of transport and business and getting business locally to fulfill projects that we might have, and where we buy not just equipment, but things like we're just trying to buy some t-shirts with our logo on. So it was really looking at who could do that locally and where they source those t-shirts from. So we don't get it right all the time, and there's always different parts of the business that we can look at and think, is that socially responsible? Because we're a health and safety charity, and we kind of speak to kids around the planet and being safe and renewable energies. We always have a section on sustainable energy as well, so we talk to kids about that all the time. So sometimes the kids give us good ideas as well when we've been speaking to them, but ultimately I am conscious about it, and it is in the back of my mind. If we have ordered something, if we can get it locally, we will, but obviously that we have to offset that with cost, unfortunately. So if the cost is too much to get it locally, and I'm talking locally as in Scotland, north of Scotland, then we really do have to think about, do we need to outsource that to a wider geographical area? So we're always trying to balance it. It's not easy. And I think you're right. Sometimes we think we were doing a good thing, but then you realise you're using more electricity or more footfall, or So I think it's a constant conversation, I think, Jill, that needs to be had. And I think the more that we can do little things, then we should celebrate that and be proud of that, because sometimes the bigger things are harder to do, but we need to start somewhere. So I guess from a charity perspective, that's where we come from. So I'm interested to hear what other people say and learn some new tricks. Thank you.
I love it. New tricks. It's always about the new tricks. The stuff that we do that you think you're being really good and you pat yourself on the back, don't you? And you go, oh yes, I'm saving the trees because I'm not using too much paper. And then you realise that you're leaving your standby button on your telly all night long, and that actually is causing a huge amount of electricity that we could just turn it off and save save that electric. And I think you used two really good words that we all consider, is the cost and balance. So we have to balance up convenience and the cost. Is it the cost to us from pounds, shillings and pence, or the cost to the planet? I was talking to somebody today about air conditioning, and coming from a tropical climate, they, in the UK, do not use air conditioning because they don't consider it, necessary. But obviously, if you're living in India or wherever, it's going to be really, really hot, and you see it as necessary. But, we do have air conditioning in the UK, and really, that's bonkers, isn't it? Why would we do that? Why would we waste it just because it seems to be the in thing to have? And it's that balance of, do we really need it? Are we costing the life of our planet just because it's slightly convenient for us? So I think those are a couple of questions I'd be interested to hear from people. And just for anybody in the audience, we don't have all the answers here, guys. We're not people that will give you all the solutions, but hopefully together we can come to a consensus and an idea that we really do want to make a difference and do as much as we possibly can in the short space of time that we need to do it. Okay, thanks, Louise. That was brilliant. Lovely. Great way to start the session off. Francis, let's hear from you. I mean, in cybersecurity, so you're going to be dealing with a lot of tech. That takes up a hell of a lot of energy. Do you have air conditioning in your offices? What sort of things do you think about?
Do you know, what an interesting question. You just reminded me of something else. Good afternoon, morning, evening, everybody, depends where you are. So I've been in the IT support game for 30 years, and specifically the last 3 years, focusing on cybersecurity. And if you look at this massive hack that's just happened a couple of days ago, I don't know if you've seen a big hack on crypto wallets and people's money losing, I think something like 600 million. So a lot of money lost, but if you can imagine the amount of money that's used or burnt up every day for people trying to mine Bitcoin is off the scale. So that's one side, and I think Greenland or somewhere they use more energy in server farms mining Bitcoin that they use, powering everybody's houses, for instance, and buildings, which is just mental. But anyway, moving on from that, the other thing I wanted to mention was about the new way of working, because don't you think that since lockdown last year that the world has changed massively? I mean, part of our setting up IT solutions years ago is about people working from home. And I've always said this: work is something you do, not a place you go to. And every time you travel somewhere to go and work, you are using up so many resources. And that's why it made my day to now see how many people have adopted the new hybrid way of working, which means working from home. And then the last bit I'll mention, and you're going to like this bit, Jill, I love to automate everything. I'm maybe hard working, but very lazy. So I automate everything. So I've got a robotic vacuum cleaner. So I've got at the office, my kitchen, just everywhere. And then, of course, radiators. I've got, those radiator valves that open and close depending on temperature. I've even automated my watering system in the garden. So if it rains, it doesn't water the garden. So, and if it doesn't, of course it does. So I've put all these things in place to really drop my footprint. And I hope that's added some value. So that's me done speaking. Thank you, Jill.
I love that. I love getting things automated. And it's understanding, talking about cutting your grass and well, you were talking about hoovering, sorry. My mind went to automatic lawnmowers that my neighbour has got. And it's like, should we be rewilding now? Do we need to cut our grass so much? So if we're thinking about the planet, we're thinking about the insects, Simon, and the impact that is having on everyone being on their laptops. I mean, again, 20 years ago, email had only just been invented, hadn't it? And but now, of course, it's got to use energy somewhere, hasn't it?
Hello, everybody. Yes, emails go back more than 20 years, quite a distance back. I think they predate the internet on intranets. I've been helping out people this week, not customers, but just people that needed help because of accounts that have been compromised. And the shocking thing is, Francis, they had two-factor authentication as well. But it seems like there's a lot of Outlook accounts or old Hotmail accounts that have been compromised. This may be a mass loss of passwords, or one thing I was thinking of, Francis, whereby they could have, the hackers could have got in. When you set up two-factor authentication, you get a lot of you usually get about 10 codes, so that if you lose the device with your two-factor authentication on, you've got the codes to actually still open up the site or the whatever you're opening. If you don't store those securely, that's a straight back door into whatever bit of software you're doing. And I've got a feeling that may have been a way that the hackers got into that account. Oh, this whole discussion could go in any direction. And yes, Jill, I can say, Alexa, will you mow my lawn? Or Alexa, can you hoover my lounge? That's just the kind of guy I am. And it's actually a bit where I thought I would actually take my business into practical automations. But turning back to the subject of business and social responsibility, this sits in a number of areas, because there are small businesses where the owners and the managers of business can actually bring about real effect on the business, and they can be done from the social responsibility can be sort of towards people and groups, and it can also be environmental. We set up we had an environmental policy in place, I think some 12 years ago, and it effectively says that we will use energy wisely, we'll use water wisely, and we will we will innovate around business processes, but also, and this applies to big and small businesses, we need to look at our supply chain. We need to look at the social responsibility, that we are not fueling businesses that are themselves not being good humans. And I'm talking about the fair trade kind of thing, that I'm not sourcing services or materials from places that you probably wouldn't want to work in yourself, and that places where human rights are being well cared for. And you then look. I'm talking to you on an iPhone. They're made in China, and I think no matter what protestations that come out, their human rights record is probably could do with a bit of a polish. So this business and social responsibility, it's something that I take very seriously, but because I'm effectively a solopreneur with one or two people working with me at the base here and everybody else working remotely, I've got great influence on how my business behaves. Larger corporate businesses, which are probably funded by or driven by the shareholders' needs for profit, may go off in slightly different directions. That's me, Simon Thomas. Thoughts of the day.
Thoughts of the day, lovely. I'm glad you said about fair trade, Simon, because it's all very easy for us to go, you should check your supply chain. And then my immediate thought was, well, how do I do that? I don't know where they go and source everything. That's a big job. That's a very big job. But at least if they've been certificated as a fair trade organisation, I know that isn't everything. It doesn't tick all the boxes, and some people have got this little rubber stamp and we think they're good to go. Actually, they're not. But I think if you're looking at companies or suppliers that maybe have the B Corporation, we know they have to go through a rigorous assessment to make sure that they are up to scratch. And basically, B Corporation is, in essence, a rubber stamp that says this is a business for good. So whatever they do, they are being good to their suppliers, they are being good to their customers, they are being good to their staff, and they are being good to the planet. So, if anyone else knows of other accreditations that are useful to check up on, just so we can, for our own peace of mind, know that we are not delivering to or receiving goods from organisations that that just don't stack up. Because ultimately, if we were to stop doing a certain thing as a collective, in a collaboration, which obviously is the name of our game, we love collaboration. If everybody was to do something overnight, if you got all of the, UK, for example, what are we, 64 million now or something, to do something overnight, it would have a massive impact. and the powers that be would have to take note and do something about it. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. I'll come back to you on that. but we do have power, even though we feel as individuals, oh, what can I do? Oh, I'm going to go and turn the air conditioning on, or if it's getting chilly, I'll turn the heating up by another 5 degrees because, I can, without thinking about the consequences further down the line for the climate and for, you just have to look at those horrific pictures of these poor farmers trying to save their land from these flames that are just ruining, not only killing people, but also in its wake the ability to earn any income and places to live for these poor people. I see we've got a few people that have joined us as well. Lovely to have you on the stage, Johan, Frank and Valerie. Thank you for coming. I'm going to go to... actually, before I forget, John had to dash out, but he did send a little message, and he said something just came up. That's why he had to leave. But do we want to add data centres? He said do add data centres that require significant power to stay cool in order to operate. I watched a program about using more energy efficient facilities, but it's very expensive, so it becomes a budget issue with companies. Is it then necessary? So there are a lot of people that are having to do things like this, and it's like, well, if I'm going to be green, it's going to cost me too much, so I can't do it. If I'm going to be kind to the planet, I can't afford it. And this is where I think we can have a moan at governments and realise that this is where they can step up and support people and help people. On that note, Ben, the culture guy, what are your thoughts? Have you got an environmentally green business?
Like you, Jill, I can't go back far enough in my supply chain to guarantee it, but I'm doing everything I can to try and get there. And I think that there are a few thoughts going through my head on this, and I'm as guilty as the next man on this, and it's just the thoughts that I'm processing at the moment, and hopefully I will start to work through some of them in my own business and my own life. But I think you mentioned it earlier about rewilding. Why are we cutting our grass? What's the best? Just so our house looks nice? Do we need to do that? Can we get a push-along lawnmower? The old ones that used to push along and used to get work out at the same time. Then we'd need to go to the gym. Are there other ways we can do this that don't diminish?
Have I just lost Ben?
Can
you say that again, Ben? I lost that, my darling. I'm not sure if it's me.
Are there other ways we can do things? And do we need to stop creating stuff we don't need? How many people buy a new phone every 2 years? Why? What? All these things are going through my head, and it comes down to the fact that, can we... I don't really know what the answer is, but it's, what are we willing to give up in order to save the planet, save the human race? Where's the line that we're willing to draw? And I suspect, myself included, it probably needs to be much further back than I wish it did need to be. And that's something we've all got to grapple with, really. And I agree with you on the data centers. The data centers are nuts. Facebook use vast amounts of power running their data centers to have billions and billions of data points so people can sell us stuff we probably don't need. That is just bonkers in my book. That's my 2 penneth. I'm done.
Leaving it at that's just bonkers, I think is a pretty good ending for that. I love. Do you know what I was thinking that at the weekend? Why don't we use the old-fashioned lawnmowers? It's good exercise. We pay money to go to the gym to run on a treadmill, and all we've got to do is not use our electric lawnmower or our petrol lawnmower and just push, or not cut the grass at all. So many simple little things that is crazy that we're using for convenience because it's new and it's there. We've got caught up in this consumer society and we do not need so much stuff. I think if I never bought another piece of clothing, I have enough for the rest of my life. And yet, we still do. Is there anyone in the audience that hasn't bought any clothing for like 10 years. I would love to talk to you. I know Connie Huck, she's a TV presenter. She hasn't bought anything for 10 years. And she was like, this blouse I'm wearing now is 15 years old. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's like, do we need to be in fashion? This is just what we've been taught, haven't we? It's a crazy world that we've developed, and now we're making out that we have a choice of like, well, I won't consume so much. Well, actually, we have to cut back. It's not so much I won't consume any more. It's like, well, we have to consume less to what we're currently doing. So as individuals, is there anybody that are giving up things like, well, for me personally, I've kind of mentally said, I'm not going to go abroad for a weekend. I'm not going to jump on a plane for 4 days and come back again. I'm not going to do business trips because Zoom is very, very good. I'm not going to have multiple holidays. I will do maybe one holiday a year. It's still getting on a plane, but only one holiday a year. At what point are we prepared to go, my lifestyle is going to be cut back in order for the greater good? I don't know the answer to this, guys. I'm just asking where you're at and what you're thinking about. So let's ask Valerie. What are you doing, Valerie, over in the good old US? How's it working, especially as you've been so close? You know, to me, the fires in North America going down from Canada on the West Coast are horrific. How do you view it?
You're right. In fact, it affects, when I say weather, but it affects our air quality. I'm in the city of Chicago. And it definitely impacts people's health because of that, and let alone then smoke continues to drift all the way across the U.S. and onto the East Coast. I happen to work at home. I do think that return to the office should really be rethought, not just for health reasons, but I remember last year. There was a news story on how the canals in Venice cleared up, and you could actually, see through the water was clear because there wasn't all of the boat traffic and tourists and whatnot polluting, that beautiful city. And so I think you can visit, but do you need all of, the cruise ships and whatnot docking and everything that does to the waters? Though I will say, living in a warmer climate and humid climate, we need air conditioning. So I'm sure there is a good way of doing that. And because really, in fact, in the U.S., California and the Southwest was populated in the early 1960s because of the expansion and the availability at a residential level of air conditioning. So if we don't have air conditioning, it will definitely drastically change where we live. This is Valerie, and I'm done speaking.
Yeah, but how did people survive without the air conditioning, do you think? Do you think it's possible that people could use less? One of my feelings, Valerie, is that so many shops have air conditioning and leave their doors open to welcome people in. The same in the winter, when it's freezing, they put their heating on, they leave the doors open to welcome people in. It's like just little practical things would make a difference. And understanding how to stay cool in the hot weather and how to warm up in cold weather. I'm always being told to put on an extra jumper. What do you think?
I think that's very fair. I know myself, and I have to use Fahrenheit because we're in the U.S. We could never get with metric. So I only cool to about 79 degrees Fahrenheit when I use my air conditioning. Many people will go down to 70 or 68, which I think is ridiculous. And then in the same, the reverse in the wintertime, I don't go to like 72. I go to about 68 or 67, and I have it even lower in the overnight hours during sleep because it shouldn't be that warm anyway. So I have a Nest thermostat system, and I earn a lot of leaves every month because I am thoughtful in the temperatures that I set my home to. This is Valerie, I'm done speaking.
Thanks, Valerie. Yeah, it's interesting what we become acclimatized to. I'm going to make you feel really old now. When I was a kid, we didn't have central heating. We didn't even have hot water. My mum used to have to boil up the hot water for the bath. We didn't have a bathroom. We had a toilet that was outdoors. And quite often we would go to bed at night with more clothes on than we had on during the day because the temperature would drop and you would get ice on the inside of the window. And that was normal. Everybody was like that. And I remember my nan saying, well, you're lucky because at least you've got a tap indoors, because we used to have a tap at the end of the garden and we'd have to go and crack the ice to get the pump going, to get the water out. And I'm like, wow, so it's not that long ago. I'm not 100 years old, but it's what you quickly get used to. And if you consider, I wouldn't want to go back to that for sure. Please God, no. But if we just reduce it a little bit, we've got so used to being content with, turn the dial and everything gets warm in the house. And actually what we need to do is not turn the dial and go and put a jumper on. I have friends to this day that the heating goes off on the 1st of October and it doesn't come on again till, it goes on the 1st of October and doesn't come, and it goes off on the 1st of April. So they never have. So even if it's a little bit chilly, they just go and put a jumper on and run around the garden or do something. And they think that's normal. They think they think we're crazy by having, it was a bit chilly that last Saturday in May, so we put the heating on again. It's like, why would you do that? They're saying to me. And I'm like, well, it was cold. We just got used to it, haven't we? Are we getting too soft in our old age? Akash, it'd be really interesting to find out what your side of the world is doing and how it's coping. But before we do, I'm just going to go to Francis before his phone rings again and ask him to reset the room for me.
I know. I'm still waiting for that way to stop people from phoning you whilst we're on a call. I use my desktop instead of use my phone. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. You are sitting in the Startup Club, and the first thing I'd like to ask everybody, if you like the conversations that's going on today, click on that little blue Monopoly house and join it so that you know that next time when we have another session that you'll be alerted to our calls. We're doing these chats every single Thursday between 2 and 3 p.m. UK time, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening to people around the world. And welcome to the people that's on the stage and to all the listeners below. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Just down the bottom, you'll see your hand in front of a piece of paper. I'm helping Jill to manage this. So if you click on it, I'm going to invite you onto the stage because we'd love to hear what your viewers on the massive topic today, which is all about, is your business socially responsible? And the last thing I want to say is also remind people, if you want to invite other people that's not currently on the call, click on that plus sign and you can invite other people like we've already done so far. And also, I hope most people have now noticed the little paper aeroplane that's sitting at the bottom right. If you click on it, you can send messages to people on the call today. So be polite, be respectful, and enjoy the conversation. Back to you, Jill.
Thank you, Francis, my right-hand man. Just a little reminder, anybody that wants to find out more about Francis, he has a Clubhouse session on a Friday at 1 o'clock, all things cybersecurity. It might freak you out, but actually you'll be safer because you've listened to that club as well. So, Akash, welcome back again. Lovely to have you in the room. What's life like? What can you do in your business? And what can you do as a person that is going to help globally, this awful position we find ourselves in? I mean, this sparked for me with the United Nations IPCC report that's just come out about which countries are contributing, which countries aren't, and how people are being inactive, how governments are being inactive around what we need to do to stop this climate, just the whole place heating up. And I realised that, if anything's going to get done, we probably have to do it collectively together. So what are you doing, Akash, around global warming and saving energy and recycling? Over to you.
You're asking what I'm doing for this?
Yes. What do you find yourself taking steps to not use too much energy, not take too many journeys, not to recycle? What are you personally taking responsibility for in order to help the situation?
Yeah, I got it. Okay. From my childhood, I see a lot of times the vehicles air pollution, like water pollution, and globally climate changes like that. But after that, to a point of time, somebody's telling me like that, you are using so much vehicles and so much industries. This causes a pollution like that. So the pollutions not only affects the climate, but also the humans. Well, I say what are the steps we have to do this because I did a mechanical engineering. After a point of time, one man in Mumbai, he MTech candidate, and he also a mechanical engineer. He started doing petrols by using a plastics. I was shocked why. He's using a plastics and he is manufacturing the petrols and the super diesels. So I just thought what are the things he is doing like that. But I started liking this. Something he is doing different, as well as I'm learning something about the internet and how we can build eco-friendly. Because in a lot of times I heard about this. If you are using an internet, we are exposing carbon dioxide gas. It will how much we don't know, because every time we are using, we are exposing like that. And I'm thinking and I'm starting reading about that how we can use how we did a recycling for the internet in eco-friendly like that. So I'll say a lot of times the electricity is building from the thermal and like that. But I thinking how we can build a eco-friendly electricity like recycling. Sort of times I thinking like that, and I spoke to some of the peoples also, but most of the times I was getting it's impossible for use the fuel, but it is impossible for use the electrical vehicles. But I'm trying to do this like a lot of solar projects like that. But I'm learning and I'm discussing some of peoples, and most of the times they will get answers like we can't do. But we have to do this because a lot of climatic changes will happening. But deforestation is also the major problem in these times. We are creating an awareness about this deforestation. We can improve the forest range, but we don't. But a lot of times they are saying like that. No, the population is increasing. We have to do this, but we are trying to impose that to improve the groundwater level like that. But we are trying our best, and I'm searching and I'm reading for eco-friendly environment, how to do this, planting the trees or something else. We have what are the steps we are taking, and a lot of times I'm getting a good and positive information, and I'm trying to impose that. Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Akash. It's true. We can only do as what we can do, and I agree with you. I worry about deforestation, and I think planting trees is the solution to a problem, but can we not solve that problem so that people don't feel they have to cut down the trees of the rainforest? They're cutting it down because they're getting government subsidies to grow palm oil, which is in so many things that we're now finding out actually isn't any good for us. So if we were all to actively look at ingredients on our food, and if it's got palm oil in it, not buy it, then the demand would go down and they wouldn't be able to cut them down to create these palm oil forests. But that means that all of those people then don't have any jobs. And what else are they going to do? Well, they'll probably start going to grow something that they shouldn't be. It might be illegal substances. So what's the solution for that area? We need to get connected and money into those areas where these people are having to cut down valuable rainforest when they probably don't want to. If they were given the bigger picture, they probably wouldn't want to. But they feel like that's the only choice they have. So I think a lot of it from the government point of view is finding solutions to where the problems are starting. And for us as individuals, we can do things like, we can go and plant trees. We find out the organisations. So for our community, we are connected to a charity called B1G1, which is Business for Good. So please go and give them a Google. They're amazing. And you can donate for impacts around the world, positive impacts on all sorts of different UN goals. And a lot of them is you can, if you take a plane ride, for example, they will tell you how many trees you need to plant in order to offset your carbon footprint for that plane ride. And then you pay the money, and then they will go and create that and get that done for you. So there's lots of ways that we can be really responsible, putting our hands in our pockets to get that done and get those trees planted. So well done. Yes, thank you, Akash, for bringing up the deforestation. That is a big problem. and there are solutions along the way. Thank you. Welcome back, Frank. Lovely to see you. I love that picture of you with the tennis racket. It reminds me, I haven't played for such a long time. What are you doing in your business, and what are you doing personally that you see as a solution to help this massive problem that we have?
Good afternoon here from sunny Amsterdam. This is a beautiful topic, and let's be honest, we've been partying too long on this planet. The party is going on too long for too many years, and you know what we're doing now is we know that we partied too long, but now it's not called cell phone for nothing. A cell phone. We look at we hide now behind social media, and now we make sure that we are so busy with our to-do list that we don't have to look what is going on, because you know there is so much distraction now with the phones and the all the things we can do to not step into nature. And I hope, and of course COVID was horrific, but I really hope that COVID was a blessing in the sky, because we had to look at ourselves, what we were doing. And if you didn't do the last 18 months looking at yourself, what you can do for yourself, and to get away from that cell phone, because the word says already it's a cell phone. You're locked. You look yourself up, and you know, in a prison with the door wide open. And that's why I think my business is I want to be a dream driver, and I want to show people again that you have to go after your dreams, and the dreams means also that you have to do something about this planet, because when you have a party at home, after the party, you clean up most of the time straight away, but also the next morning. But you're not going to sit in a mess for the rest of the week or of the month. So it is time to look. If you want to go to your dream and you really want to live your dream, you have to make sure that this planet is still good enough to live on. And what's going on with the weather and all the problems here, we had the floods. A few weeks ago, the whole south was in floods, and we are so good in water fighting, because a lot of land, the land I live in, my cabin is at the moment is standing on the bottom of the sea, and but for how long? You know, it is going so quickly. So you know, we have to stop. The party is good, but make sure that you clean up the mess after the party. And there is so much to do. And my book, Chapter in a Dream, is also about this, that we have to look, first of all, at yourself, because it's going to be an itch if you don't start doing what you love. But also that our to-do list is not keeping us too busy from our to-be list, because we have to look, we have to be happy. And how can we be happy if the world is a mess? It is a mess. And COVID is hopefully a good message to look at yourself, to look at the world, go back to nature, see what we are doing. We are changing also in Holland already the plastic bottles. They're putting money on the plastic bottles, so nobody can throw them away again. And if you throw them away, children will pick them up and they get money for it. So we make sure, and the Coca-Cola cans and everything, there's money. And you know, we're doing step for step, but we have to do it. Everybody has to do their part. And I'm doing my best. I take an extra sweater when it's cold and not the heater anymore. And I do my small part. But if everybody is doing his small part, then it's going to change. But I think my business is really, really green, because I want to show everybody it's your dream. And the dream is also a healthy planet to live on and to make your dreams come true. So, good topic.
Thank you, Frank. I tell you what, you've put a great phrase there. We've been partying for too long. We totally agree with that. And I've never thought about the cell phone like a cell. But thank you. What a picture you've put in our minds. You're lucky that over in Amsterdam you've got money on plastic bottles. We haven't got that yet in the UK. I think we should have glass bottles and put money on those glass bottles like we used to 50 years ago. But those are great things, and I agree with you. We've all got to do something. I'm going to start whizzing through this now because we've still got 5 more people to hear from. Francis, do you want to reset the room one last time, and we'll crack on for the last 20 minutes?
Yeah. The time goes so quickly. We've only got 20 minutes left, and I bet we've still got a lot of people to discuss. Welcome, everybody, especially a lot of new people that joined in the last probably 10 minutes since my last reset. Today we're discussing, you must have seen this on the news, you've seen it everywhere, you can't ignore what's going on the social media everywhere. And I think we have a personal responsibility to be socially responsible when it comes to business. Even if you're an employee of a business, what are you doing to help the business be social or socially responsible? If you'd like to come and have your say, please click on that little hand, raise your hand. We'd love to hear your voice. We've only got 19 minutes, so we've got to be quick. And also, if you want to hear more about us and what the topics we discuss every week, it's so varied, but it's all about collaboration and helping people around the world. And so join that startup club right at the top. Click on that green button, follow people, and let's share and let's educate each other. Back to you, Jill.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Francis. Nina, I come quickly to you, my darling. What are you doing to save our planet? Not single-handedly, together. Hopefully we're going to be agreeing with you, and also some top tips that you're going to be able to share with us. Welcome to our room.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gail and Francis, for the room. And Valerie, it's good to see you. I always learn so much in your LinkedIn rooms. I'm actually in the Pacific Northwest this week on family vacation, and I'm looking out at this beautiful lake, and there's a bit of a smoky haze today. And so even though we know that wildfires are part of a healthy forest ecosystem here in the Pacific Northwest, it's also the frequency of them and has definitely been increased by climate change. So, and the intensity also. So it's definitely an issue that's so important to me. So I'm so happy that you're hosting this room. I'm doing a couple of things, and I love this topic and the question. I've actually pivoted my business. The pandemic has me traveling so much less, so I'm really grateful for that, and that had nothing to do with me. But as a leadership facilitator and a coach, I used to go on site with executives 3 times during a 6-month engagement, and now we're doing it all on Zoom, and they're happy with it, and I'm happy to be able to connect with them virtually and not not be going all over the country to do my work. And it's the same with my facilitation. I'm now teaching classes on Zoom, whereas before I would go to a hotel and people would come to the hotel and we would teach there. So those are some things that have shifted just in my work without that much help from me, and I'm just trying to encourage my clients to continue to meet virtually. But I also think there's something important to know about, we can do a lot individually. I'm moving to a more plant-based diet. I also have learned that our fishing systems are more careful about. Unfortunately, I'm not eating nearly to eat. I used to be more of a pescatarian, and now I've learned that the plastic netting in our oceans is causing a lot of damage. And also our oceans are, when you think about CO2 absorption, our oceans absorb as much as our rainforests. And so paying attention to our diet, I think, is super important if we're going to be socially responsible in the coming years. But finally, I'm actually really wanting to use some of the skills and competencies and tools I've shared with executives with more people who want to lead in their own lives and in their own work, especially around climate and social justice. And so that's the final thing I'm doing is I've pivoted my business to be more, helping leaders who maybe entrepreneurs who don't see themselves as leaders, but are finding places in their life where they want to lead. I'm doing more work with those folks, and that's very rewarding for me, and it's just so important for us to step up, but also to put pressure on our systems, on the larger businesses, if you're a part of one, on government. We're about to hold a recall election here in California for a Democratic governor who has been amazing through the pandemic, and if he gets recalled, I don't know that the next governor will be as aware of climate change or as responsible. And so I'm also doing my part there to help with the Stop the Recall effort. So I think getting involved in politics, even though some people don't really like to do that, is a way to be socially responsible. So that's what I'll close with, but really appreciate the conversation and the question. Thank you. I'm Nina and I'm done speaking.
Thank you, Nina. Yes, I think at the very least we could do is write to our local MP just to keep it, the agenda at the top of everyone's list. If everyone, again, wherever you are, if everyone on this call wrote to their, local representative and just said, I'm concerned, what's happening in this area, please tell me, they will have to go and find out. And they'll have to take some action. I'm looking at the time. I'm really sorry. Thank you, Nina. That was brilliant. I love all of that. Lizzie, one of the Collaboration Global members, welcome to the room, my darling. Crack on. You've got about 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
Okay, 2 minutes. Go. Right, so number one, fantastic that we're all online now. We don't have to travel. What were we doing? Travelling everywhere. Skincare, makeup, everything like that. I make sure it's from Arbonne, which is an amazing company. It was a B Corp, so sustainability and all ethical and all that kind of stuff. We've got things like we've done everything we can in the house. We've got solar powers, we've got electric cars, energy resource as much as we could, and we just do whatever we can. Public transport if we do need to go anywhere, recycling. I love going to charity shops, taking my stuff there and buying more stuff, so it's just continuing. So I guess we're just doing whatever we can. Actually, my daughter, who's 19, she's so into this, and she told me off the other day because I bought an avocado because I hadn't forgotten to check where it came from. She said, "Mummy, it's come from Spain in that traffic. The lorries are bringing it, and you shouldn't be doing that." So she's really into this. So I think we just have to be aware and just do whatever we can all the time, and it's our responsibility, every single one of us.
So true. And what a great list. You are doing some amazing things. And I also look at the where things have come from, and I can't bear buying an apple that's not come from this country. We grow them in this country. Why would you buy them from somewhere else? It doesn't mean to say anybody else's apples are any less delicious than ours, but it's just the miles. Just keep it short and
local farm shops and local places to just local communities, and even though the plastic in the supermarket, you don't need to do it. Just get in a paper bag.
Exactly.
That you can recycle. So
exactly. And I've got a string bag that I use all the time. I love it. It's a magic bag. Thank you, Lizzie. Perfect. Great list. Great list. We've already spoken to Simon before, so I'm going to whiz straight over to Claire. Tell me, what are you doing? What's your business doing? We're really running short on time now, my darling, so I'm going to keep you to just 2 minutes. Is that okay?
All right, let me know when I hit my time, and I'll try to be super quick. I'm trying to start an alternative housing community that's going to hopefully be built with reused materials in different sustainable ways that are going to require less energy, in a maker community that's hopefully going to be reusing materials, Skillshare, multiple different things. Societal wise, I think one of the biggest things and most important things we can do is listen to, learn and boost Indigenous voices, because they are the ones that are more than anyone else that are fighting to try to protect our world right now. 80% of biodiversity right now is in their hands being protected. They are the protectors who have been trying to prevent a lot of this. They're the ones right now that are trying to fight the pipelines that are going to pollute hundreds of bodies of water. Multiple things that they are doing right now, and they need to be supported in as many ways as possible. I think I actually got that out pretty quick.
You are awesome. I want to give you a huge hug. What are you doing? It's fantastic. Alternative housing community, listening to the Indigenous voices. It is so amazing. If only the governments could be on your shoulder, listening to what you're saying and doing what you're doing. So keep doing it, my darling. Thank you for coming to this room. I really appreciate you being here. You are a perfect example of what this country, this world, this planet needs in order for us to save humanity. So keep on doing it, and good luck with everything you do. I missed that. Say that again, Claire.
I just said also take less vacations.
Yes, indeed. Vacation at home. Thank you. Cheers, darling.
Have a good day.
You too, darling. Thank you. Oh, I love that. Malini, tough act to follow. Claire's doing everything. Amazing. What are you getting up to that's helping us to save our planet?
Thank you, Gil. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, my darling. Go for it.
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hear you. So I'm going to be a super quick here. So I want to share a bit about the project that I'm doing here. I am based in Indonesia. So this project came from a research initiative that conducted by the government. So for Indonesia, halal and haram, we are the biggest Muslim population in the world. So halal and haram is very important to us. And then the government asking us to conduct a research based on halal literacy of small and medium enterprises here in Indonesia. The program went well, for 1 year, and then the government want us to proceed in giving funding to the small and medium enterprises, particularly here in the city of Pontianak, West Kalimantan. So the funding basically based on several assessments. This assessment, the government wanted to be based on the sustainability. So we are thinking halal and haram are basically a very widened concept, and then it is related with sustainability. So when we are doing the assessment, we are really trying to integrate it with halal, haram, and then sustainability. But basically it's quite simple and flexible. So we want the SMEs to be more eco-friendly, where their places is clean, and then how they serve their customer without using any plastic related, and then something like that. And then at least there are 150 small and medium enterprises that got funded from the government initiative. Overall, after we evaluate after the 6 months of the activity, the small and medium enterprises who got funded and already doing the sustainability practices in their SMEs got improved a lot. Basically, they have a good positive customer feedback because they are conducting a very safe and clean environment where they sell the product, and the customers really feel comfortable. So actually, how is it the religious? I want to share how is it a religious activity eventually got really close to the practice of green initiative, or how is it small and medium enterprises can be socially responsible. Thank you so much. I'm done speaking.
Oh, wow. I said, can you follow Claire after what she told us? And you did. That is amazing. Indonesia government funding SMEs to be more environmentally friendly. That is awesome. I wish you every success with that. And thank you so much for coming to share today. So it gives me... it's kind of, other people out there are doing massive things that we don't necessarily know about. We hear all the horror stories, but there are so many good people out there making small differences and making massive differences. So keep on doing what you're doing. Thank you very much for sharing that with the room. Really appreciate that, Malini. I'm going to move swiftly on to Philip. Welcome back, Philip. Let's hear what you've got to say about this whole subject.
Well, I think I'm getting a bit depressed really on this subject. I had because I tried to do my bit for it, but while you were speaking, I had just did a little bit of work on the internet, and maybe even worse, but I was looking at the carbon footprint that we produced when we were in the 1950s, before we had the rise, to the carbon footprint we have now per capita, and that's gone up by 16%, and the population has gone up from 2.3 billion to 7, and it's going to go up to 10. So I think the situation is we're in a global warming. It is going to happen, and I think for collaboratively we've got to work together to work out solutions as what is going to happen to manage that over the next few years, and then how to collectively we can move things down. Because unless we don't, if we stop and buy everything and get it all the way down, then the whole of the world collapses because it loses its trade. So it has to be much more collaborative. It has to be much more longer term. I think we're in it. We have to do a little bit individually, but we have to do it much more collectively, is my view.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. That's the whole point of our organisation, Collaboration Global, is coming together, doing things collectively, and finding a new way of being. because we have been capitalists. We have been taught how to be consumers all of our life. And I think that is going to have that mind shift, and that behaviour shift has got to happen over the next few years, and sooner rather than later. And by having these conversations, the population is continually growing, as you've well spotted, and so therefore consumption is always going to be part of it. So we have to find other ways of either earning our money or having a universal income, or another way that we don't have to keep creating things all the time in order to purchase them and to have a living and survive. There's got to be a totally different way that we've currently been using to find a way forward. So thank you for highlighting that, Philip, because yes, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. Maybe next week, who knows? Thank you very much for that very valuable thought. I appreciate that. Vishal, we come to you almost at the end. You've literally got 2 minutes before we round up. Okay, can you give us your thoughts on where you're coming from?
Absolutely. I work in the space of inclusion of people with disabilities, and one approach of being socially responsible is to ensure we include everyone. And for me, if we do not include, it means we exclude. And I've been personally impacted by that, both positively and negatively. There have been businesses who have transformed my life. At the same time, there have been businesses who have made my life miserable by creating products and services that are not usable for me. Yeah. So being a person with disability, we are talking of 19% of the global population. Yeah? And if we have to become sustainable and environmentally or otherwise, we need to include everybody as we go along. Thanks. I'm done speaking. This is Vishal.
Thank you, Vishal. That is such a good point to end on, isn't it? We're talking about convenience and making life easy for ourselves generally, but there are people that don't have that convenience because of their disability, and no matter what shape, size, sex, gender, sexual orientation, male, female, old or young, able or disabled, we have to include everybody in on this conversation and be able to support everyone and include everyone. It's such an important point you've made, Vishal. I really appreciate that. I did not know 19% of the global population suffer from some disability. That's a fascinating fact, and it's one that we need to take on board. So while it's very easy for me to say people shouldn't have air conditioning or they should turn the heating down, there are some people that need air conditioning or need, because of their disability, and we can't discount that. We can't make blanket statements over everything. We have to look at individuals, because we are all individual and we all have basic human rights to be loved and to be supported and to be cared for. And no matter what's happening on the planet at the moment, we have to help all people, not just those in the West, not just those that are making the most noise, but all people across the planet. Thank you very much for that.
And this pool of people can also protect the planet. We tend to forget that as well at times. So they also can contribute in making the planet sustainable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see lots of little flashing agreement with you there, Vishal. So it only brings me to say, finally, that we've come to the end of our session. It was wonderful to be hosted by the Startup Club and to see so many lovely new faces in the room. We are here every week at 2 o'clock on a Thursday, UK time, GMT, British Summer Time, beg your pardon. And we have a different topic, but usually the theme is collaboration. And the theme for today about is your business socially responsible? What can we do for our planet? How can we support each other? If we don't collaborate on this topic, on this subject of our humanity's sustainability, we will not be sustainable. The planet will survive. Whether we will is another question, and we have to come together and collaborate, understand and love each other in order to make a difference. There's no point one person making all the changes and the rest of the world taking no notice whatsoever. We have to persuade each other, we have to support each other, we have to help each other to make our world sustainable and our humanity sustainable. Just thank you very much everybody for coming today. It's been an absolute hoot. This has been a recorded session, and we will put it on our podcast if you're interested. It's called Being Human Hidden Depths, and if you've missed some of the conversation, you can go back and listen to that as well and take some top tips. I've got loads. I think I'm going to go and buy a new lawnmower get rid of the electric one, and have some exercise while I cut the grass? Or shall I just leave it to grow into a meadow? Who knows? I'd like to thank Francis for being my right-hand man today. Thank you very much, Francis.
Most welcome.
And don't forget to pop along to his Clubhouse session tomorrow at 1 o'clock UK time as well. Thanks, guys. I'll see you all this time next week. Take care.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.